Hello and welcome to Shelling Out the Basics. In this video series, I want to go over turtle care basics. Today's video, I will be covering turtle tank substrates. Why am I going over this? Because I want to put a new substrate in here. So convenient for me, yes. A substrate is the media you will use on the bottom of your tank. There are tons of options out there. I want to go over a few of my favorite options with you today, and I'm going to show how each of those options look in my tank. But first, let's quickly talk about the purpose of a substrate in your aquarium. Of course, the answer depends on who you ask. So for instance, my current setup you see here behind me, that is what you would call a bare bottom tank. I don't have any substrate down there. I just have a couple pieces of driftwood and some fake plants. But yeah, I have no substrate. And as you can see, pros with the bare bottom tanks, it's really easy to clean. And yes, it's right now it has a little sand on the bottom from leftover things, but in general, it looks really clean too. But cons with a bare bottom tank are it's really boring and it doesn't look natural. And the last thing is it doesn't have any opportunity to harbor beneficial bacteria for you. I'll get to that in a second, but that's a bare bottom tank. So a substrate can be used in a couple different ways. It can be used to make an aquarium look fabulous. If you have a bunch of colorful stones, it can look really natural with some river rocks or sand, or it can be less of a maintenance nightmare and just be bare bottom, like I have with nothing on the bottom. So like I mentioned earlier, certain substrates like sand or stones can act similarly to your biological media in your filter, and that is, it can harbor tons of beneficial bacteria that will help to minimize nitrate levels in your tank. Nitrates are bad. They will lead to poisonous water conditions that can end up killing any of the occupants in your tank. So that's really important to be concerned about. However, for the most part, filters will take care of all that as long as your filter is adequately sized. But it can be nice to have a substrate that will also help with that process. Just know your substrate's not a filter. It's not going to be able to handle giant turtle poops. If those get stuck under there, your water quality can drop very quickly. So just be aware that your filter is really doing all the work and your substrate is just going to be a supplementary booster. Now I want to show you a couple great options that I really like for a turtle tank. All these options have pros or cons, of course, but hey, I'm going to tell you what those are, and I'm going to throw these substrates in the tank just to show you what these things look like. So hopefully you can make your own decision on what substrate you want. So first up is a tile. Really exciting. You can get these from Lowe's. This is an 18 by 18 that was cut to 17 by 17. That way it'll fit in my 75-gallon aquarium. This is just a basic ceramic tile. There's nothing special about it. It's what you would use in your kitchen or your bathroom or your patio. And what I like about a tile is it's essentially the prettier version of a bare bottom tank. And that is, it's smooth, it's flat, super easy to clean, and that's it. It's really simple. And you can get a bunch of different designs. This is just a basic kind of white marbly design, which I think is going to look good in the bottom of my tank. So once you get this thing cut and you bring it home, just give it a good rinse, get off all that hardware store dust and gunk that might actually be on this, and it's ready to go. That's what makes this tile so easy. So number 2 on substrates I want to show you today is river stone.
Just give me the stone!
River stones are basically just rocks that have been smoothed over by the flow of water on the riverbed. And they're super natural. They have their browns, grays, whites, tans, and all sorts of colors that you would find in a riverbed. And obvious reasons I like these stones are they look super natural in the tank. They look like something the turtles would probably be swimming over. And they're not too gigantic that the turtles can actually move these around, so if debris gets stuck in them, and they push the rocks, those debris will come up and go through the filter. And they actually have some surface area on them for beneficial bacteria. Again, you're not going to get tons of work done by this bacteria, but you'll get some, which is always a good thing when you're looking for good water quality. So huge word of caution when putting things like stones, rocks, pebbles into a aquarium with turtles. The typical turtle will try to size up and put in their mouth and possibly even eat anything you put in the tank. That includes rocks. So a major problem with turtles and rocks is that if your rock is too big, or they really like eating your rocks because they're pretty easy to fit in the mouth, they'll just keep eating them, or a big one will get stuck in there, and you will have an impaction, which is basically you have a stoppage in the intestinal tract, and your turtle will die from this if the stoppage cannot be cleared. So you obviously really want to be careful and avoid that. So a general rule of thumb to avoid this problem is get stones that are bigger than your turtle's mouth, or at least not interesting to your turtle to eat, which is bigger stones, which is stones about the size of their mouth. So these stones in here, all of them are just about bigger than their head. I'm going to kind of siphon through the ones that are too small, just to reduce the risk of them trying to eat those rocks. And if you're not sure how your turtles are going to deal with certain types of rocks that you're going to put in here, keep a really close eye on them for the first couple of days and just make sure they're not constantly trying to eat them. Otherwise, you are really upping chances that your turtle is going to get themselves impacted. Then you'll have a health problem you'll have to deal with, or your turtle could pass away, and you really don't want that just because you wanted a certain type of rock in the bottom of your tank. So again, these are Countryside River rocks from Lowe's, and I just bought a bunch of these. I'm going to rinse these off before I put them in, and that's number 2 for substrates. So with that warning on substrates, what not to use with turtles is the classic aquarium gravel. If you can see, this gravel is too small. I think turtles will constantly be trying to pick through this, and there's a really high risk that they're going to either be small enough for one of these to cause an impaction or eat too many to cause an impaction. So I would steer clear of any sort of typical aquarium gravel, even if it looks super colorful and beautiful. Please don't use this for your turtle's sake. So the third substrate I want to talk about today is artificial grass. This grass, otherwise known as turf, is fake plastic. It's super realistic because it has those little kind of dead pieces in it. It's all attached to on the back of this piece. It's all stitched in. You can actually cut it along those stitches to make it smaller, to fit a different size. It's made for pets and outdoor use, so it's safe for an aquarium. But I do suggest rinsing and soaking this for several hours just to make sure that any of that manufacturing gunk that might have gotten in this is at least rinsed away. So, pros to artificial grass. It looks awesome. It looks like a fresh, clean-cut lawn for your turtle, and it has a great green color, and it just looks, even if it's not natural for the actual turtle's habitat, it looks natural, it looks real, and it looks good. However, things to be concerned about with this grass is it gets to be a bit of a tangled maze down by the roots. And once your turtles have been living around this grass for a while, their waste is going to start to sneak in there, and it's going to be tough for it to find its way back out, even with the turtles kind of rummaging through. So if you really want to use this grass, advice I'd give you is take this out every couple weeks and just rinse it out with a hose to make sure that this tile grass is not just building up endless waste that's eventually going to shock your system and become a toxic waste dump in your tank. Another word of caution is if your turtle likes to pick at things and they start to like to pick at this, they might be able to dislodge it through the stitches in the back. So just be careful and keep an eye on them when you first use this to make sure they're not just picking this out. They might start eating it. It's fake grass. It's not going to be good for their stomachs. So if they do start eating it, you're going to have to remove it. Otherwise, I think this is a great option if you think it looks really cool and you're willing to do a little maintenance to make sure that your water quality stays pristine. And the final substrate I want to discuss with you today is sand.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Sand is my favorite substrate. It looks awesome in the tank. It stays relatively flat even with the turtles moving it around. It's relatively bright with a nice light tan, and it's great for harboring beneficial bacteria. It has tons of surface area. There's tons of little pebbles on here, all places where your bacteria can sit around and just wait for that waste to come by, and they'll just eat it up and nitrate's gone. It's not that efficient, but it definitely helps the water quality. And what's really good about sand is it's super easy to move around. So when your turtle poops, it gets stuck under the sand. Eventually your turtle's going to come by and forage a little bit, and that poop is going to come back up. And then your filter can do what it's designed to do and remove that poop. So that's why I like sand. Some cons about sand: after a really long time, you can start to build up some waste, especially if you're not cleaning the water or your filter really often. You're going to have similar issues to that grass or even rocks, is that waste is just going to build up, and you're going to have to do a pretty major cleaning of your tank if you don't keep up with just general maintenance. Again, it has that beneficial bacteria, which is always going to help a little bit. Another thing to watch out for is what filter you're using. So my advice there would be go on reviews, and whatever filter you have or are going to buy, just see if other people have had success with sand. That's the easiest way to tell if that filter is really ready for you to put sand in the aquarium. My last word of advice for using sand is I used HTH pool filter sand. Make sure it has no added chemicals. This is 100% silica sand. If it has extra chemicals, that's going to be poisonous to whatever is living in your tank, and it could kill them. So definitely do not use a substrate with extra chemicals used for cleaning or really anything. Just get 100% bare bones, sand, rock, whatever. Make sure there's no extra chemicals in it, please. And with sand specifically, depending on what bag you buy, you can save $1 by getting play sand from the hardware store. It's going to need an exceptional amount of rinsing before it is ready for a tank. Otherwise, it's going to stay cloudy for a week. Why I like the HTH pool filter sand is it's already very clean. So it only took a couple minutes of rinsing before it's ready for the tank. It could still possibly be cloudy, but it will be manageable for the filter and just the system. So those are the 4 substrates I want to show you today. I'm going to drain this tank. I'm going to take out the ornaments inside. I'm going to put each of these substrates in. I'm going to fill the tank back up, and let's check out how they look in my tank. All right, first substrate, the tile. Second substrate, river stones. Third substrate, turf. Fourth and final substrate, sand. Let's fill the tank back up and let's check it out. The 4 new substrates have been layeth down and are ready for your critical judgments. Will it be bare bottom, a tile, river stones, grass, or sand? Let's take a closer look, shall we? I forgot about the turtles. And very importantly, let's try it with bubble. All right, we can already see Harold is going for the pebbles, the river stones. They were way too big for his mouth, but I'm gonna keep an eye on him. There might be some smaller rocks in there. I'm gonna have to pick those out. Crackers is just looking at them curiously. Let's see what the local golden doodle thinks. She chooses grass. I don't like that choice. Crackers is eating the grass. That's not preferred. I'll keep an eye on him. Oh my. Thanks for watching. I hope you got a great idea of different substrates that you could possibly use in your tank. Let me know if I missed some cool ones that I should try. I'm trying to choose my 4 right now. My next video will probably show what I chose, and I'm sure you'll all be at the edge of your seats wondering what I chose. Like, subscribe. Crackers is eating the grass. That one's gotta go. Stay tuned for my next video. See ya!